So here I was waiting for July 6th, racked with anxiety. I was afraid id would get closed because I know how this goes. We saw it happen with Embracer, we'll see it happen again. After buying up every company they could possibly think of and spending more money than the fucking pharaohs to acquire them, there were rumored studio closures from Microsoft. Because they couldn't recoup that revenue, because of course they couldn't. There was no way that was gonna happen. Nobody has money anymore. Microsoft gambled and lost. So now the developers who make successful and wonderful games like the 136 people they laid off from id, which is more than half their staff by some reports, have to bear the brunt of that stupid, incredibly short-sighted decision. Because like most industries, it's run by bloodless sociopaths who have been told that crushing people's dreams and livelihoods is the cost of doing business. Not cutting underperforming staff, not gutting companies that are unsuccessful, but stripping the copper wire out of the walls because they got too fucking greedy. And now id Software's tech team is a skeleton crew. All of the layoffs infuriate me, but there's something especially gross and predatory about bleeding id like this. Yeah, I know, none of the original members are still there, that doesn't matter. They put out Doom 2016, and Doom Eternal, and Dark Ages to a lesser extent. Action games that hit so hard that they revived a once dead franchise and people still talk about how Doom Eternal is the best Doom. Doom Eternal is one of the most influential games of the decade. I don't even need to explain this. Yeah, id still exists, but for how long? A mostly unrestrained id put out some of the best action games ever created, and now it's going the way of all good studios. Chopped up, torn apart, and forced to be less passionate, less creative, less themselves, and beholden to the whims of people who would slit their fucking throats for the next sacrifice, which is gonna happen sometime next quarter. None of this surprises me. This is how everything operates. We've been told our entire lives that business has to be run like this or else we'll all be poor and starving because the investors will have a money sad. What if they aren't promised obscene wealth? Then we'll have no games at all. No one will have jobs. It makes perfect sense if you're only driven by money. I think we should be taking the same attitude towards them. Fuck them. If they die penniless and alone in the street, relieve yourself on their fucking corpse, because that's more than they'd give you. You, the person, the consumer, the customer, the employee, are less valuable than a drop of their piss. They have no respect for art or history or design or humanity at all. That's why they're in the positions they are. What they tell themselves is that they make the hard decisions, and that the world would fall apart if not for their steely resolve to steer the ship through the troubled waters they navigate into out of hubris. That they are objective because they don't care about those human concerns. They are ugly, empty things that are trying to convince you that praying to the god of greed is atheism, and they will kill again.
And now, our feature presentation.
We just had Quake's 30th anniversary. I know, because all the Johns and Sandys came out and talked about how the experience ran id Software ragged. Except American McGee, who seems pretty cool about the whole ordeal, which is a very American McGee thing. I'd move to China, you know, but I don't exactly... Hey, what are you...
Shut up. You're still working off that Thief series.
Whose blood is that? So Quake was a big deal, you know, first fully 3D, No, wait, it wasn't the first fully 3D FPS game exactly, but it was the one that looked the best and ran beautifully, and had a deathmatch where they let you use the coolest rocket launcher ever. So, because Quake was big, it got expansion packs, 2 of them in the beginning. Released in March of 1997, 8 months after Quake hit, Scourge of Armagon was developed by Hypnotic Software, an inconspicuous name for a studio that would later become Ritual Entertainment and make Sin. And the staff there were, at the time, industry veterans. We're talking like Tom Mustaine, who had made maps for TNT Evolution, the master levels for Doom 2, and a slew of third-party Doom wads. And then you've got Richard Levelord Gray, the same one who a year prior was working at 3D Realms and made 14 of the levels in Duke's first 3 episodes. Yeah, and there isn't a dud among them, not even Incubator. It feels weird, right? Duke 3D was Quake's biggest competition.
I ain't afraid of no Quake.
That's a level that Gray made. So he was, in fact, not afraid of no Quake, and the new technology must have interested him if these levels were anything to go by. The story of Scourge of Armagon is a simple one. It's Quake, after all, and the most complex story in a Quake game is the one where it's delivered almost entirely in conversations between Phil Lamar and Steve Bloom. You get back from telefragging Shub-Niggurath, but there's still monsters running around this military base. They're not led by Quake this time, they're led by Armagon, who took over after we killed an eldritch monster with an axe. He comes better prepared, you'll see. As with all good Quake expansions, and Quake expansions in general, even the bad ones, you have a start map to select your difficulty. I've played these before, like every 5 years or so since the turn of the century. I'm like, hey, I haven't played these Quake expansions in a while. Oh, Scourge of Armagon? That's the one with the really annoying new enemies, right? So I know what a pain in the ass some of this is going to be, so I go in on hard, not Nightmare, especially not in the Night Dive port where they cap you at 50 health. I get that Nightmare wasn't that difficult originally, but fuck off with that. The Nightmare portal's pretty easy to find. I know I've beaten both of these games at some point, probably after pirating them as a teenager, so I have sporadically played these expansions for 25 years. What I remember is the fuck-ass new enemies and trudging through the first part half-heartedly because they're all military base levels. If you count the secret level, which I do, this expansion has more military base levels than the original Quake, and that's the aesthetic and gameplay I like the least. They were fine as introductory levels to episodes that would branch out into a different theme, like Episode 4's Eldritch locales and Episode 3's Dark Black Metal. McGee, we love you. Oh, Katie, no. Jesus. I thought you said you weren't gonna... Nope, sorry, it's brown military corridors broken up with Levelord's mine towards the end. We arrive at the pumping station. I could feel the difference in design as soon as I was out of the first room. There's a mission objective. You have to shut down the pumping station. I tell you kids, you should be terrified when there's a rocket launcher in the first level of a Quake episode. Giving you this bespoke jib creator this early means things are gonna get bad. 1 minute and 50 seconds into my playthrough. You have to use it to shut down the pumping station, which I respect. I've been playing a lot of the marathon games lately, and in those games when you wreck a machine, it's really underwhelming. Don't ask me why I'm playing the marathon games. This new expansion has a lot more environmental destruction than the practically zero in the main campaign, and this isn't even one of the maps Levelord did. We get a laser cannon. I don't really like the shiny, glowy laser gun and think it doesn't fit Quake's aesthetic. It's cool, though. It works really good. I don't like the bouncing projectiles, but I guess something has to balance out the absurd power of this thing. The scorpion enemies, called Centroids, are one of the things I vividly remember. They take as much pain as a Death Knight while rapid-firing nails at you. They dodge your shots thanks to all the legs. I'm told they also sting, but I haven't gotten close enough to find out. Level 2, another military base, is called Storage Facility, and you know what? No, you don't get to call it that. You have one room with boxes in it surrounded by a sewer level. You get 2 for lying to me. You get 2 new power-ups, the Empathy Shield, which transfers damage to monsters if they hit you, and the Wetsuit, which gives you an air supply and also makes you swim faster. Not bad. This level has a secret exit that I didn't reach the intended way. I read later I'm supposed to use this proximity grenade launcher, which... I don't really use proximity bombs in games. I don't wait for my jibs, and I usually end up running over them myself. It's kind of funny that Night Dive updated the grenade launcher model, but not the model for the proximity launcher, so that still looks like the original, having as many polygons as the Cybertruck, which I will make fun of for the rest of my life, because look at it. The boomers have been milking Pintos for 50 years, and those cars don't look like the Homer was designed by the guy who sleeps in a race car bed. So I shot the button here and ran and rocket jumped. That takes me to the secret level, Military Complex, not to be confused with the previous 2. Yup, Scourge of Armagon is trying to show a lot of new features and environmental quirks that you didn't get to see in the main campaign. Stuff that was even more advanced than what you'd see in Hexen 2 in some cases. The ammo drought from before is over. We're pretty well supplied with explosives and cells since there's so many enforcers dropping backpacks. I find that secrets are generous with mega healths. Oh. Don't think I forgot about quad rampages. Okay, it's time for Levelord's mine level. This is the first true distillation of what Scourge of Armagon is trying to do. This level is packed with... oh, no, wait. Look, I just really like how Quake plays, okay? I know the development was tumultuous and all, but the weapons are so perfect I will never not be excited to pick up a quad damage. Okay, so this expansion pack really wants to play with the environment, make everything less static, so they add things like earthquakes. Terrible, shitty earthquakes that bounce you around and make your movement and your control much worse. Hobbling your movement in a Quake game should be punishable by caning. And then, because around that time outrunning boulders like Indiana Jones was now possible in 3D games, and I want to highlight this one because we just didn't have the graphical power to roll something round towards the player. It's about half a boulder. I get a mega health out of it. You're blowing up huge pieces of rock and tunneling your way in. This elevator tells you where it is as you wait for it. You're interacting with the environment in a way Quake never did, probably because it was one of the things they cut to get it out the door. And rock crushers. And this fucking rock tumbling machine that can suck me fucking dry. Rumblin, tumblin, death? The last level of this episode is a research facility that'll take me to the interesting Quake locations where I'm not just cutting down enforcers. Okay, there are a couple of shamblers in the sewer. It's a cramped little level with a lot of enemies that ends with scorpions and a portal too. We need to go destroy a portal so the monsters stop invading. Standard stuff. What the fuck were those? Not long before we're trapped in a room with fiends and ogres raining grenades down on us. Bring them on, give me all the ogres. They're a renewable source of rockets. I feel like we're finally getting going in this expansion. They don't wait to throw tougher enemies at you. Vors show up now, and shamblers, well... We're back in a big castle fighting big monsters, playing to Quake's strengths. Can I just say that I really like the updated Shambler? I think Night Dive does good work with slightly updated models that still retain the game's aesthetic, while adding detail that already exists in the texture. Look at his teeth, isn't that just lovely? I have to bum around for a while before I see this switch above the exit doorway. I've been looking for something that opens the obvious underwater passage at the start of the map. And now we head into the Gremlins domain. What the fuck? Okay, what are these things? Oh, they're the Gremlins. Do they attack you? Because I haven't been hit by one yet. I just interrupted this one's meal and I feel kind of bad. I'm all up in his domain fucking up his dinner. There's only like 3 more in this level. This is a pretty good Quake level. Harder than one you'd find in the main game and pretty fun. We're not getting a gimmick secret level until later, but that one's good. The Black Cathedral is next, and it is, as you can see, as black as that fucking storage facility was a storage facility. There's always a secret behind the bookshelf. You're dealing almost exclusively with Quake monsters, though a gremlin pops up here and there like, what are you doing? What is your purpose? Do you not look around this mendacious lie of a cathedral surrounded by monsters that everyone remembers? Is that why you consume them? This is a tight little collection of arenas that kinda gestures towards more realistic and detailed environments, but stops at bookshelves. We drop into the catacombs below the off-white cathedral, and I'm ready to blow shit up. What? Are we done yet? Are we done yet? That's 8 gremlins. Hey, get away from my mega health. Stop! Oh god, no, don't eat your friend! This feels a lot more like the gremlins domain. I feel like I got dropped into a screening of Snow White. He fucking better not have. Okay, that's why the gremlins exist, and worst Quake monster. Just disgusting. It eats its own like a lobster. More disgusting than a spider-like creature called a vor. Yes, Sandy, we know, and I absolutely believe you. But also to find this post, I googled Sandy Peterson vor. Another highlight is finding a new power-up, the Horn of Conjuring. This summons a friendly monster with absolutely cracked AI that... I don't know, it's better than nothing. See? He kept the vor from shooting homing projectiles at me. He doesn't make it far out of this room because his pathfinding is dreadful, so it is kinda like having a time power-up. He lives outside this room now. This level is a marathon. It's got 128 monsters in it, which is more than any Quake level by a good margin. It's okay, they're stupid. Like these shamblers walk into electric beams to help me kill them. So I finally remembered I have this giant hammer, Mjolnir. This is deep Quake lore, actually, because Quake was always supposed to have a powerful hammer. Back in 1991, when they were teasing Quake the Fight for Justice, and saying that you'd get a hammer of thunderbolts, it's one of those overly ambitious things they were putting off until they had a 3D engine capable of making the virtual D&D campaign of their dreams. That didn't really happen. Mjolnir has a melee attack, but that's not what we're here for. This thing will do chain lightning. It's pretty useful if you can hit the floor. This is from a little later. Whoa, what the fuck? It's okay, we're gonna talk about those once I go through the portal coffin. To the crypt! Spike mines. I remembered they existed, but unfortunately I did not remember for a little while that the nail gun would pop them instantly. In my defense, this happened. And I think I misinterpreted it. They detonate when they get close enough, and they move faster if you're not paying attention. I could bitch about this, but are they worse than spawns? No, one nail done. Unlike the Black Cathedral in the storage facility, this actually resembles a crypt, complete with elaborate traps and little set pieces you just didn't get in Quake. Like, this is still Quake-like, but everything feels a little lighter, a little less grim, like there's no pain maze, yet. The episode closes out with Mortem's Keep, a traditional Quake brown castle, and they give you a zombie doggo. See, that's why I didn't give him a name yet. Oh god, here, I got something they can have. Oh, they restrained themselves this long, huh? Hey, what are you doing being alive? Okay, I've genuinely never seen this. Did they just put all their new stuff into this one ugly little turd? Episode 2 ends with this mess. I don't have to kill them, I just have to get past them. Oh no, I only have 160 health left.
After what seems like an eternity, You feel the presence of a diabolical intelligence. You are held helpless for a moment as your mind is open to Armagon, Quake's general and master of this realm. Recognizing you as the one who foiled his attempt to conquer Earth, a hellish howl fills your mind and blots out your consciousness. When you awake, you find yourself on the shores of reality, but in a time and place unknown to you.
I tell you kids, when they name a level the Torment, they mean it. This one starts with Mercy, you think, because it gives you a biosuit so you can swim through the sludge and get a rocket launcher so you can kill the zombies surrounding you. Yeah, there's also Vors there, but we'll deal with them later. This is not a good time. Oh. I haven't been in more than 3 rooms of this level, and already... Yes, good, that's exactly what they needed. Mobility. Fuck this level. Alright, we've got 2 more Vors. We have 4 Vors. Fine, try targeting me from here, assholes. Well, I can't get to those rockets from here, but I want to kill those Vors, so fuck it. There's some cruel tricks here, man. Like there's a fiend over here that looks so helpless, so easily jibbed with a few rockets. Didn't Quake monsters used to make a sound when they teleported? Alright, that was 4, right? There's a 5th one stuck over here. But we also have that awesome Malnir fight on top of the tower, and I get a pet Shambler. He only kills this one gremlin, though. Best set piece in the expansion so far is this cool machine that blows a hole to make the level exit. Next up, Pandemonium. This is very Quake Episode 3, just with more grunts, enforcers, and dogs, who we haven't seen for a while. We only had 5 straight levels with them. This level is the closest this expansion gets to really capturing Quake's atmosphere and tone. The traps especially are very classic Quake, and there's only like 2 gremlins. Good times. I get the sense that we're traveling to a new dimension with each level. The next, Limbo, is similar in that it nails Quake's atmosphere completely. It's stronger in abstract areas and with bizarre otherworldly architecture. And the most productive quad rampage of the game. The secret exit is so easy to find that I stumble on it long before I finish the level. That's where things get interesting. Connected platforms floating in a void years before Quake 3 would do it. The Edge of Oblivion is the kind of secret level I've been craving. It's tough, it's a little mean. It's a lot mean. It was designed with deathmatch in mind. It has 23 fucking Vors in it. I'm out of nails and cells and I have to use rockets against the Shamblers because I can't get close enough to shotgun them. You can't really flank anything in this level because of the layout, so I stay out of range and hit them while I bleed out like a stuck pig. At least it ends giving you some decent ammo for the next part. Next up is the gauntlet, because we didn't just go through a gauntlet, this is the real deal. Look at this, a classic, non-Apogee affiliated blood sewer. And thank God a quad rampage with the pentagram of protection. Put up that graphic, Katie. I know it's been like 2 years, but put it up. Wait, how long? Alright, Armagon awaits. Armagon is a Strog? Because that's what he looks like. He's the meanest boss Quake ever produced. Just one of his rockets killed me when I had over 100 health. He shoots the bouncy lasers too. He's like a big super ogre. However, he is still a Quake monster, and so he's kinda dumb, and I get him stuck behind a wall and turn him into a pincushion. Oh yeah, look at that meatballs. A wall explodes, Ranger enters a portal, and the debris from the explosion politely disappears to improve performance.
Congratulations! You are victorious! The minions of Quake have once again fallen before your mighty hand. Is this the last you will see of Quake's Hellions? Only time will tell.
Well, no, because Quake Mission Pack 2 Dissolution of Eternity came out like 3 weeks later. Hypnotic was busy, right? Well, no, because Scourge of Armagon was made in about 6 months, starting a few months after Quake itself released. They were both worked on at different studios. Dissolution of Eternity was made by Rogue Entertainment, who you might remember from such id Tech projects as Strife and American McGee's Alice. They also made the second of Quake 2's mission packs, so we're probably in good hands. Oh, you piece of fucking shit. Dissolution of Eternity is about Ranger coming back after defeating Armagon, but also not after defeating Armagon, years or possibly centuries later? Fuck it. If we look at this note, Quake is back, baby. Like, we killed Shub-Niggurath, who was Quake, and Quake is very angry about this. He, not she, as Black Goat of the Woods with 1,000 Young was woke bullshit. Quake has started screwing with time travel and went back to different periods to take over. I see we're working off the same playbook as Duke Nukem's alien antagonists. Dissolution of Eternity goes straight into that Quake shit. Brown Castle. It's a little harder, I guess. It's slower because I only have a shotgun and I'm having to kill Death Knights with it. This expansion pack abandons most of what you saw in the first one. It sticks a lot closer to Quake. New enemies are generally reskins of old ones, like this multi-grenade ogre, and I know what you're saying, he only threw 1 grenade. That can be an instant kill. He's no harder to dodge than a regular ogre. If you can't dodge ogre grenades by this point, no one can help you. You need to stop playing Quake. You don't get new weapons, you get alternative ammo for weapons you already have. Lava nails and multi-rockets. The lava nails do 30% more damage than regular ones. The multi-rockets are as common as normal ones, and one shot from them can nuke a Death Knight. They also didn't update these weapon models for the re-release. The first level, Deviant's Domain, feels more like standard Quake in its atmosphere. Where Scourge of Armagon would focus on trying to recreate the familiar with Quake's limitations, Dissolution of Eternity is fine sticking to the abstract nature of Quake's low-poly medieval Lovecraft nightmare. Like, the first level is over in 3 minutes. I blast through it without much trouble. I think I like the visual design better in this expansion. It feels more professional. Dissolution of Eternity has primitive boxy areas, but so did Quake. They're functional, if not very interesting. It's hard by Quake standards. Starting the next level with a Shambler is pretty reasonable for an expansion pack, but I have lava nails that do decent damage against it. You've got environmental hazards too, but in a different way than Armagon. It's really strange to compare them, like the rock tumbler made of deadly brushes, versus these swinging axes, which are meshes. I feel like this is functionally better, but worse from a gameplay perspective. Like only 15 points off from getting bisected by a swinging axe the size of a truck, and these levels tend to have less character in each area. This is brown castle bricks, not really an identifiable place as much as a vibe. I think I like this one less simply because it feels like a tour of Quake's greatest hits, and a lot of these were greenish-brown hallways. Like, it lacks a certain imagination, which is a weird thing to say about something from the studio that would work on Alice. It's like seeing a decent cover band for id Software, which, considering what would happen to Rogue and how it would become Nerve and how they would, I have even fewer memories of this one than Scourge, because Scourge imprinted itself better with annoying shit, which is why I'm surprised I didn't remember the swords that come to life. These first 3 levels feel practically identical. Green and brown, a couple new enemies here and there, the sword and electric eels because why not? We have effects for electrocuting people in water. You get the rocket launcher pretty early, and that multi-rocket attack is ridiculous. No matter what this campaign throws at you, I don't think anything aside from bosses take more than 2 multi-rocket hits. What these weapons do, essentially, is a different way of making the enemies less tanky. It's more blunt than a laser cannon, and you get so much more ammo. You might think I'm going quick. I am, because this is the 3rd level and I'm only about half an hour into my playthrough. Yeah, I know, boring. Well, it won't be anymore because we've reached Cave of Death, which is a bad level. I'm almost relieved. This ugly, misshapen polygonal dungeon feels more like a Doom level than a Quake level. It's just really flat until you get to the greenish-brown castle. It's hard to explain exactly how annoying the earthquake effect is without actually feeling it. The way it fucks with your momentum. Maybe this is the true exploration of Quake's story, because I feel like the most powerful man on the continent. Lava nails are busted. Things do pick up after Cave of Death in Towers of Wrath, a blue level. If you're wondering why I don't have any quad rampages yet, they're a little rarer than the last expansion, and I keep picking them up after battles are over. The placement could be better. Why do I need it? My rocket launcher now has quad damage mode. I get to the end of this pretty good Quake map still thinking, what, that was it? I mean, yeah, it is a very wrathful tower, I guess. But imagine people who played the first expansion and then this one comes out and is a lot more subdued. When Dissolution of Eternity takes bigger swings, like with the Wraiths, there's always an asterisk. Yes, they're quite tough. They fire a projectile that is like the Vors but much faster, practically impossible to dodge. It does 8 points of damage. For comparison, this dog hit me for 19. The only monster I could find with a weaker attack was the Rotfish. What's even the point? You can easily nuke 3 or 4 at a time. I didn't even remember this thing was in these levels when I was seeing them in Arcane Dimensions. The Thunderbolt gets plasma ammo for a new firing mode, and it's basically just an electric rocket. The multi-rockets are still a way more devastating attack. And it's not like I don't have any multi-rockets, I have 100, I can't pick any more up. The first truly mean trap shows up when you emerge from a pool with a spawn and a wraith waiting, and they both follow you back underwater, but nah, he's too big and floaty to chase me any farther. Another new power-up you get that is occasionally useful is the anti-grav belt, which makes you jump all floaty like in Ziggurat Vertigo. Let's just skip to the end of this episode because nothing else interesting is happening. You already seen me blast through hallways of monsters, but have you seen me easily blast through a Quake boss? Also, yes, like 10 minutes ago? Well, get ready for it again because here's the Overlord. A big wraith with slightly more damaging projectiles. Just spam it with rockets.
Has Quake's oppressive reign ended? Is it salvation or damnation? which waits beyond the vortex.
There's another episode after this, but it's only a little bit of damnation.
Another thought, not quite your own, razors through the haze. Forgiveness can yet be granted. Our master remains to absolve your sins against his chosen. Fall down upon your knees. Pray for Quake's mercy.
That's metal as fuck. Oh yeah, and I get the impression that this expansion may have been slightly rushed, not just because it came out the same month as the other one. There are no secret levels. I know that doesn't sound like much today, but I can't think of an FPS expansion at the time that didn't include at least one. Come on, all of Doom's expansions, all of Duke's, Shadow Warriors, Bloods, Rise of the Triad, Heretic. Let's move on. Yes, we get to go on a time-hopping adventure, so we might not spend 70% of the episode surrounded by the same green brick texture. Oh no, it's a green rock texture now. It gets different on the inside with slightly more variety. I'm more interested in the statues that I know are going to come to life because there's no other reason for them to be there. Detail? Decoration? They'd never waste that many polys on that. They're just reskinned Knights and Death Knights. They're practically harmless. The end of this first map, Tempest Fugit, has a mini-boss. It's a guy, and identical guys that shoot energy at you. It says that the big tough one is Quake's Guardian. I suppose I could try my overpowered weapons. The next levels are broken up into chapters. This is Elemental Fury 1. I have to hit a bunch of switches to get out of this area, which I assume is the part that represents the element of Earth, so your main obstacle is getting crushed or burned in lava. Or you blow up a green spawn and die. I've read online that these spawns can duplicate themselves, but I've never seen it. I don't let a spawn live that long if I have the option. The air section's a bit more interesting and has wind tunnels, as you'd expect. I don't know why they split these into 2 levels. After the transition, you're at the water section. They give you a biosuit at the start and in the middle, so it's not really hard. I kinda wish we had the wetsuit from the last expansion. The fire section is actually something. Chthon is back! Well, Hephaestus, as the website calls him. You don't even need lightning attacks to kill him, and this is the only time he shows up. Interesting curveball to throw the player after mostly fighting the same Quake enemies. I know I scrambled looking for switches to lower prongs the first time I played it. I still use lightning anyway. We're continuing with the Egypt theme in Curse of Osiris. Quake had a lot of Egyptian textures it never used, and so now we've got a level like this. Look at that Sphinx. Honestly, the theme breathes some life into this one. It feels like a departure, like it's still very basic Quake most of the time, but the levels are getting better as they go along. It's funny because this level has the highest monster count yet, but with the OP weapons I make it through in a little under 17 minutes. We get reskinned zombies playing the part of mummies. One of them doesn't even jib from a multi-rocket burst, so props to the guy who embalmed him and put all his organs in a canopic jar. Another Guardian in what would be a more difficult fight in a smaller space if I couldn't just... I try to think about how I'm, on average, a better player than someone doing this in 1997, with access to a source port that plays the game perfectly aside from some movement changes. One of the reasons I don't like covering a lot of expansions is on display with Dissolution of Eternity. It's not really that different from Quake, it's never as intentionally cruel as Armagon, and it doesn't take the same kind of big swings. The next map, Blood Sacrifice, is here to try and put that argument to rest. It's the cruelest of these, easily, filled with traps that work most of the time. Saw blades that come in from the ceiling and help me jib this fiend. If I have enough space, nothing's really an issue. See? Nuke it. Here's another small thing that makes me think they were trying to get this expansion out the door. Yep, that's an unsealed trap. Hey Rogue, nice monster closet. Another guardian at the end of this one. No wait, this one is Quake's High Priest. Last Bastion starts out pretty good. I love a good castle storming. Quake has done it exceptionally before. It includes a sewer because, you know, it has to. It needs every part of the castle. I'm so geared up, I can take on anything. I don't even run low on cells. The exit to this one is some of the most beautiful Quake brushwork I've ever seen, which absolutely tracks with the people who would go on to make Alice. Overall, I'm sure this was a fine expansion for Quake in 1997 when everyone was eagerly awaiting Quake 2. Which would be out in like 4 months. Dissolution of Eternity is, at the very least, more Quake from mostly competent developers. It's not like they handed it off to some fly-by-night company. Rogue worked in the same building as it at the time. So to end the Quake 1 storyline, because that's never getting picked up again, we need to know more about the Strogg, remember? Right, Tim? Anyway, Dissolution of Eternity has a boss. It's a dragon, one that was cut content from Quake originally. It really hurts you, man. It just wrecks you. 2 of those plasma blasts at once don't even hit me, but the splash damage sends me flying and sucks 109 armor points and 69 health points off me. You get an anti-grav belt for the fight to make things a little more fair since the dragon can fucking fly. So yeah, it would be the toughest boss in Quake 1. Armagon was at least practically stationary. It would be a shame if there was a really easy way to exploit him. So the dragon can only shoot at you if it's facing you, and because it's flying, it needs to take long, wide turns. If you stay behind it, which is easy, you can just win. I'm glad they didn't skimp on the jibs. Look at that, wings, thighs, and breasts. Now we hit some buttons, destroy the temporal energy converter, and seal off Earth from the evil dimensions of Quake permanently. Look kids, we have closure. Ranger, canonically, won, and isn't like staying behind in hell for hundreds of years and dimension hopping to kill demons forever.
The ground shudders as reality shifts back to its predestined path. You run to enter the charged time pod, scrambling in as the chamber closes. Your consciousness fades as you realize you have halted Quake's plans for the Dissolution of Eternity.
Oh, that's what that was referring to. I assumed it was just a cool combinations of words like they do with most things, you know, Scourge of Armagon or Death Kings of the Dark Citadel. These wouldn't be the last Quake expansions. One day I'll take a look at the modern ones in a video, being Dimensions of the Past and Dimension of the Machine. Until then, I'm going to steep myself in the relief of no one saying, when are you going to do the Quake expansion, Civvie? But really what I'm going to do is an entire playthrough of Thief Gold again so I can make the updated Thief series with the fucking Night Dive remaster.
Stop trying to sabotage the channel.
No. What? Where's the shock or the club or the ocular perforation?
Civvie 11. You already...
Shut up. You'll get eye stabbed when we feel like it, right?
Yes, eye stabbings! Blood! More blood! I am optimistic about further procedures.
Yeah, sure. He can't handle it.
Can't handle what?